Yeah, my name is David Pierre-Louis. I'm the founder and executive director of Kay Tita. Kay means house, and Tita is my mother's nickname. And it's this, yeah, I live in Seattle, Washington. I live in Spanaway, Washington. I've been doing work since 2010 in Haiti, and it's an honor to be able to present this work with you guys. Constantly going out there to kind of keep solving and keep doing was our approach to say, okay, let's figure out what our community needs and make sure that our team needs to make sure they have what they need to be safe. Um, the social change challenges in Haiti, it's, I know for me, I'm not going to go too much on this slide right now because if I was to just close my eyes and point at a map, all these would be, I'm saying, affecting every place around the world. And we all know this, right? Um, but um, the reality is like, and I think Dr. Manushka talked about it in the documentary, what France has done to Haiti continues to be that issue that really prevents us from like progressing. And I want to play this video real quick. This is Professor Sam Richards.
The first black nation in the world is everyone. But you know what? You're going to pay reparations to the French. And the Haitians are going, wait, hang on, you mean the French who like tortured us and persecuted us and enslaved us and held us down, and we had a life expectancy of 5 to 6 years? Those French, like, we got to pay them back? And we're like,
and that's what it is, right? So you have to understand, like, we, 203 years ago, 223 years ago, we took our independence back, and we're still paying for that, right? So the international embargoes has further complicated the situation. And so when you think about that in that context, and then you go back and you look at what's happening to Haiti, like, of course, right? Of course, this is happening to us this way, right? If we were just, everything was just normal, we would kind of like deal with it from a normal perspective, but we don't have that ability to do that because we're in debt we've been in debt to the IDB, we've been in debt to these, just you name it, right? So we're in debt to all these different international communities that say they have our best interests at heart, but which is not really the truth, right? But I thought about deforestation in our country always. It hits me in the gut, and I reference it today because everything that happens on the island of Haiti affects the world. This, I'll let you watch this, but this is basically, Haiti's on the left side, and this is a view of like the Dominican Republic on the right hand side, and you can see the difference when it comes to deforestation. But the proceedings of the National Sciences says the loss of forests and human activities is a global threat to biodiversity, continually diminishing populations of forest-dwelling species. However, species extinction usually is delayed until the last habitats disappear. Nevertheless, mass extinction may be imminent in a small number of tropical countries with low forest cover. Here we find that Haiti has less than 1% of its original primary forest and is therefore among the most deforested countries in the world. 42 of the 50 highest and largest mountains have lost all primary forests. Our surveys of vertebrates on these mountaintops suggest that endemic species have been lost along with the loss of forests. The indications that Haiti is already undergoing a mass extinction of its biodiversity because of deforestation. What's happening in Haiti matters to us all. And then we have forced migration. And then the movement of Haitians abroad brings several direct challenges to the country. When skilled professionals like doctors, engineers, and teachers leave, Haiti loses crucial human resources needed for growth and development. The brain drain affects sectors like healthcare, where the shortage of medical staff become even more critical. Economically, while remittances from abroad provide essential support to families, the local economy misses out on the contribution of these productive individuals. This limits business growth and reduces the potential for economic development. Culturally, as we assimilate into new environments, the preservation of our rich traditions and heritage becomes harder. The unique cultural fabric of Haitian society, which relies heavily on communal living and support weakens over time. Socially and psychologically, family separations due to migration can lead to emotional challenges for children and disrupt community bonds. This weakening of social structures directly affects societal stability. Politically, the absence of engaged citizens reduces civic participation and puts pressure on the government to address key issues, contributing to ongoing political instability. Addressing these challenges requires creating opportunities within Haiti. And I think that's kind of like why creating space for us was so important, and really making sure that the young folks that we work with, that they had access to these resources so that the solution for them wasn't to leave automatically. Focusing on sustainable development and community engagement can help mitigate these losses and work towards a more stable and prosperous future for Haiti. The similarity between a human being and a tree and a forest show how deeply connected all forms of life are. Both play vital roles in their ecosystems, helping maintaining balance and sustainability. I believe by recognizing these parallels, we can develop a greater appreciation for nature and the intricate web of life that supports both humans and trees. I let the correlation of environment influence my approach for working in Haiti. By focusing on my mother's neighborhood, it allows us the opportunity to create solutions on a small scale that could then be replicated in other parts of the country. I remember during our second startup week, a conference that I founded for supporting, celebrating entrepreneurship community, I was sitting in the back of the room and I was like watching these presentations, and I was watching how like wow, these guys are amazing, and then just like the different resources that they were talking about and the way they were approaching their work just inspired me. And I had to really ask myself, like, what's my role, right? And vulnerability for me has been important along this journey, because if you're not vulnerable with yourself, then your ego is going to get in the way, and your ego is going to be playing a role, right? Playing that role in driving the decisions that you're making. So for me, my vulnerability with self has been one of those things that allows me to really question exactly how I approach the work that I do, because I have to lead from, I got to lead from within, and within means checking in with my heart, checking in with my community, and making sure that I'm really solving for them, right? At Kay Tita, we believe that addressing Haiti's challenges requires a collaborative and sustainable approach that empowers the members of our community. With the mindset, it allows us to emphasize the importance of partnerships, the essence of combit, which means to work together for a common purpose because it's the right thing to do. Three main pillars drives our work: collaborative approaches, sustainable development, and capacity building. Sustainable development is at the heart of our work. We focus on principles that ensures our project benefits both current and future generations. This means implementing practices that are environmentally friendly, economically viable, and socially inclusive. We try our best to not make decisions that are just off of our feelings, but for example, rebuilding my mother's home was put on pause early on because I was presented with a vision. It was put on pause because we started asking these questions of like, why and how do we want to go about doing this? And then once we started thinking about that, we started understanding that the bigger problem that was impacting Port-au-Prince was like really lack of urban planning. What happened in 2010, the earthquake, the severity of it should not have happened, but because of the lack of urban planning, because the city's overpopulated, it was meant for 250,000 people. It was built for 250,000 people. It houses over 3 million people. So you're thinking about like the deforestation that you're seeing. These are people that are leaving these areas and coming into the city looking for opportunities. And therefore, like Port-au-Prince was overpopulated. And the compromised infrastructure has not been addressed to this date, right, at scale. And it's like for us, it's like what we've heard the term teach a man to fish. And again, I always leverage my privilege has always played a big role in my work in Haiti, and I focus on creating access to resources. I think I am privileged, and I always remind myself of that, especially when I'm working in my community. And because I'm privileged, I have to make sure that I'm treading a certain way, because it's important to make sure that I'm aware of that. This is kind of like I think where we left off at the end of the documentary was probably like right around 2017. And this is one of the things that we've been trying to update this in real time, because we're living, we're alive, and this stuff is really still present and means a lot to us. So this is just a little bit of an update to what you guys just witnessed a minute ago.
In 2017, the first time I stepped foot in the space that would become Impact of Port-au-Prince, I had a nervous breakdown. I was like, oh, there's no way that I'm gonna make this space become a livable space. There was no way. The space was in terrible shape. But we were committed to create an inviting space, a second home.
We fixed the windows, painted the walls, the floor, and my favorite moment was when we washed the works we bought to create our front garden.
When we started this adventure, we were guided by one reason and one reason only: to empower the ones who did not feel or look like winners. The journey was painful, riddled with mental breakdowns, political instability, but we persisted in spite of them.
Activer potentiel, moun ou penser qui pas qu'à réaliser ou bataille. Ça, c'est vision.
April 2022 was the first time I had our birthday celebration at the
Me too. I was shocked because I didn't think I mattered so much to them. Our barbecue meeting is another time where I can feel human and share my stories with the team.
We were the first ones to introduce our people to VR, blockchain, UX design, branding, design thinking, as well as wellness practices like yoga and meditation. And for 7 years, we've gathered hundreds of participants, speakers, volunteers to create the most inclusive, immersive entrepreneurial event in Port-au-Prince.
Seeing fresh, new faces every time we make an event is one of my favorite moments. We reach people we never knew we could reach. After the country descended in chaos for months, we came back with an event called Illuminates. This event helped people to reconnect with themselves and reconnect with us too. This event brought a lot of people to tears, and I think it will transcend times.
The other day, my sister told me, you know, the best gift you have received was being part of the herb I have evolved.
Throughout more than 100 programs, events, and trainings, we've impacted more than 10,000 people directly. For 4 years, we've hosted a monthly marketplace where vendors could sell their product and buyers could have fun. We've put together makerspace, studio space, and kitchen for creators to bring to life their imagination. I still remember vividly Lynn, a medical student who left the hub at 10 p.m. on December 24th in order to finish this anti-shock bag she's been working on for almost 3 months. We empowered our youth with digital skills needed to excel, not just in Haiti, but around the world. My favorite moment in the history of the hub was seeing this young man who did not know how to use a computer, didn't speak in English. He was pitching in English in front of investors. Guys, I could not believe my eyes. That for me, that's the sign that we really made it as an organization. We've really made an impact.
Being a conduit for me has always come easy to me. So after we opened Impact of Port-au-Prince, like we noticed that entrepreneurs would come in our space, but they weren't really like working. It's like they knew that they wanted to be there, but they really didn't understand what next, right? So we pivoted automatically to skill development programs and workshops just to support the entrepreneurs. And so we hustled to find the right way to fund these programs and initiatives. And for the past 7 years, as Pierre mentioned, that's been our commitment to our community members, to making sure that they had access to resources. During the pandemic, we realized that the focus of like a co-working space didn't really fit, what our community needed. And so I for example, like you take like the Goodwill has these locations where you can have access to skill development resources, or you have access to libraries. And when you think about these institutions that exist, they're free, right? And so that's why we pivoted to a model where like that barrier of entry for the people that we're serving had to be removed in order for us to really truly meet the people where they're at. And so a lot of our funding for the programs that we foster comes from, just donors, comes from different programs that we run outside of the States, different grants, things of that nature. That's how we help fund some of the initiatives that we have going. But it's one of those things that, especially what I learned during the pandemic, the way it was so easy for us to, well, not easy, but for micro enterprises locally were able to receive resources at ease. And so for a development country to have access to resources, and for a developing country to not have access to resources, how do we set them up for, we're not to set them up for success if we don't really be very intentional about making sure that access to resources is coming readily available for them. I learned quickly that the only way to thrive was to make sure that we were connected. And so like even with the pursuit of opening Kay Tita, but instead of opening Kay Tita, initially we paused that and we decided to open Impact of Port-au-Prince first, so that our community can be part of the global conversation. Because there's a lot of times that we are doing things in isolation because we feel like this is what we need to do, but there's a conversation happening around us. And if we're not part of that conversation, then we're missing out, right? Because we can't really do this in isolation. So Impact of Port-au-Prince, Startup Week, Creative Mornings, Haitians at Microsoft, Google Haiti, Facebook Community Leadership Program, the International Living Futures. So all these are, very well established corporations and brands that our community is now connected to and get to be part of that conversation as well. I know Pierre mentioned, there's so many, from that past video, there were so many proud moments to see some of the young lady like Geralda, when she started with us, she didn't speak English at all, but now to see her speak English, to see her progress, Berlin, who's our admin, and Tony, who's one of the individuals who's our photographer, videographer, like just to see that progression of these individuals has been like just made me very, very proud. But if you remember this gentleman here, Lube, he's a fellow in the video that won the hackathon, couldn't speak English hardly. And with his prize after winning the hackathon in Haiti, he won a trip to come to Seattle. And it was his first time on a plane, and some people from his community told him, don't come back, right? And I think I didn't realize like that impact of like, here's these young kids coming over from Haiti, they've never been on a plane, and what does that mean to us? And so I had to ask, like, why are you going back, right? Like, and he's like, well, I wanted to be part of the change in my community. This is 2021. So for me, it goes to show that access to environment matters, right? Because here's a young man who's 20, 21 years old, who comes from nothing, right? For the most part, but has a dream, has a vision, and all we have to do is continue to like ignite that dream, put fire, put gasoline on the fire for him, and things continue to grow, right? But I'll just play the video. Hold on.
Hey DPL, hey sir. I just wanted to drop you a quick message because I want to thank you for everything you have done for me. So I'm currently in the US right now pursuing a master's degree in computer science. I couldn't have made it this far without your support. I hope remember the letter that you wrote for me for the February going to the recommendation letter. That really made a huge difference. So I'm sending you a video instead because I want to thank you. I want to express my gratitude in a more personal way from helping me out at Hackfest, Haiti Hackfest, and also in my first trip to the US. You've been there every step of the way. I cannot thank you enough for those things. There are many other little things, but that video is too short to thank you. So I hope you're doing well, sir, and may God continue to bless you, continue to shower you with blessings, and thanks again for everything. Ciao, ciao, Puba.
Tapoba means, where you take the bow. I woke up to this video like a few weeks ago, and I'm like, it brought me to tears. And just realizing like that's what this work is about, right? It's like really believing and creating hope and creating access. As you guys know, it's been over 7 years since this journey started, but the reality is our building goals is really the flagship space necessary for the vision we have to escalate and scale to the next level. As I mentioned earlier, the lack of urban planning continues to be an issue in Port-au-Prince. We haven't built stronger and better, therefore we run the risk if there's another earthquake of that magnitude, we can expect something very similar. I hate to say it, but it's really the reality. When I was watching the documentary earlier, there was a building right next to my mother's property, and I saw there was a crack along the wall. I forgot about that crack, but they never built it back stronger. They never demoed it and rebuilt it. They just patched it, put concrete in between and just patched it up and then just moved along. And that's been very common in a lot of cases. And it's not because they don't want to build better, but they don't have the resources to build better. So that affects them overall, right? And so I was reading this book titled Remembrance, Loss, Hope, Recover After the Earthquake in Haiti. It's an anthology series by the Multicultural Women's Presence Collective. And Josiah says, the threat of natural disasters is very real in Haiti, yet we lack the ability to respond and react to them in the ways that reduce the loss of lives and livelihoods. And it's true. And I think for me, like there's the responsibility that I have as someone that's privileged and come back from resources to make sure that if we're going to do something in Haiti, we need to do it smarter because I have seen better, right? And I think my inspiration, there's a building in Seattle called the Bullitt Center. It's the greenest commercial building in the world. And when I saw that building, when I walked through that building, I was like, this is exactly what we need in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And until I could figure out how to find the funding for that, it was going to pause our vision because that's what we needed for our community. And I say that because Port-au-Prince doesn't have a sanitation system, right? Electricity grid is compromised. The waste management is compromised. All these things are compromised. And therefore, if we're not thinking of building sustainably, then we're going to run into the same issue we keep running into. And so our building is going to address all of those issues that we have in Port-au-Prince. And so we've assembled an amazing team. Hervé, he's born and raised in Port-au-Prince, but also specifically he comes from the community. He's the architect. Caroline, structural engineer. She's born and raised in Haiti, studied in the States, and she brings a wealth of knowledge to the team. She's always wanted to rebuild Haiti smarter. After the earthquake, she moved back to be part of the solution, but the reality is there weren't any projects that were really like ours that she can like sink her teeth in and can provide her experience. Luis, he's out of Virginia, but he's the sustainable design consultant, and he's working with the young folks from HELP, which is Haitian Education and Leadership Program. And these youth are going to be the ones that we're working with to kind of like do a lot of the research for the materials for the buildings and things of that nature. And the hopes is that the students from HELP will be able to teach back to the community what they've learned as we create this building. So our building, it sits next to the ravine, And one of the things, mom is always running after some of the people in the neighborhood who's dumping waste in the ravine. And so I'm like, if my mom raises the flag, I'm like, oh, I got a solution for that. So it kind of like causes me to be aware of what's happening and what is the solution. So we propose putting a biodigester into our building, which basically converts the waste from our building, but also we're going to create micro stations in the community that's going to convert the waste from the community as well into energy. And then planning to establish the country's first ravine rehabilitation center. And so the ravine basically runs from the mountaintop all the way through the city and dumps into the sea. And so all that stuff is going in there, right? And it's like out of sight, out of mind, right? But the reality is this ravine is connected to the rest of the world. And if we don't rehabilitate this ravine, then we're going to have a problem, right? And so we're creating kind of like this model where it's adopt a ravine, very similar to what we see around here, the adopt the highway model, so that we can kind of fund what's happening in the ravine and kind of like revitalizing the ravine as well too. And I think that's kind of what ends up happening sometimes when you're building, when you have an idea, you can either kind of like, you have an idea today, but this idea today might not fit it 2-3 years from now, right? And so you have to be very mindful of like how your vision that you have really impacts the whole. And that's kind of like how I approach is like, we're always looking at the whole environment because we can't build in isolation. It just doesn't make sense. So this is our new design for our community space. It's still 4 stories. It's about 14,000 square feet. We're excited about the future and anticipate creating about over 50 full-time jobs with our new space. We're planning on having a community cafe and a roaster at the ground level as part of a way to really just keep the place sustainable, where we're not depending on grants or outside funding to keep it running. And then the Impact Hub Port-au-Prince will move from the current building that we're at right now. So our current building that we're at right now is it's basically maybe up the street around the corner from where we're at right now. We'll move from our 1,200 square foot location over to the 14,000 square feet space, where they'll continue to manage all the programs we've been running, but with much more room to grow. Our new venue will feature 100 seats for active co-working, 6 times our current capacity. We're also planning a dedicated rooftop community event space, perfect for gatherings and special events. Additionally, we'll have 4 state-of-the-art high definition classrooms. They'll be used for hosting a variety of classes, including entrepreneurship development, health and wellness, tech and innovation, job training, and much more. On May 18th, 1803, General Jean-Jacques Dessalines tore out the central white stripe of the French tricolor flag, symbolizing the rejection of the French colonizers. Catherine Flaon then stitched the red and blue stripes together to form the first Haitian flag. This union led to revolutionary battles in 1803, such as Bataille de Vérité, the last battle between the French and army and our ancestors. Despite facing the most powerful army on the time, we won our independence and became the first Black independent country. Tomorrow, we celebrate our culture representing unity and strength. Tomorrow, we celebrate this milestone worldwide, excuse me. This flag is emblematic of our culture representing unity and strength. As our motto says, l'union fait la force. We may not be able to accomplish everything on our own, but united, we possess a strength that makes the impossible possible. The right to dream is what we fought for. And despite our victory, there are still those with a colonizer mindset working towards the same goals as their ancestors. I believe that the diaspora directly reconnecting to its roots is the key to healing Haiti, just as our ancestors intended. The youth we work with deserve healthy environments to live, work, and thrive in. That is why Kay Tita exists, and we will continue to cultivate these healthy environments until everyone's right to dream has been honored. I greatly appreciate your time today. What's on your guys' mind?
Question is, since the beginning of your journey 14 years ago, looking back, is there anything now you would have done differently?
No. I think everything has happened the way it's supposed to happen. I've learned a lot along the way. I've grown a lot along the way. If I didn't make those decisions, or if I didn't have those reacting moments, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So I'm grateful that I answered the call. I think because I answered the call 14 years ago, my community stood up for me, my ancestors stood up for me, and they continue to be here as part of the journey. So yeah.
What can people do to help make a difference that don't have big financial backing? Thank you for sharing with me.
I would say, there's different ways that you can follow us on social media. You can make an introduction to others that you might know. I mean, networking is key. We all know someone that has resources. Doesn't have to be, large donations, whether it's $1, $2, $5, all that helps. So there's always ways to help financially. There's ways to volunteer. So it's just, let's have a conversation, email us, join our mailing list, and let's talk. I think it's important that, we all are doing things in life, I feel like, that can contribute to the success of Haiti. And so we just have to kind of create those opportunities to have those conversations. My mom is good. She's actually in the States. So right before the pandemic hit, I picked her up and she's in Fort Lauderdale, and she said I kidnapped her. But she understands that it was the best decision, right? So even every year we've been trying to figure out a way to go back, but I haven't been back to Haiti since 2020. And then whether it's the pandemic, just the constant instability, all those things has kept me from being on the ground and being present. Yeah, so, but mom is good. Yeah, she's hanging. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Hello, David. Good to see you. Thank you for your presentation. Keep doing what you're doing.
Good to feel your energy.
I've known you as an entrepreneur, and so I'd like to know how you are combining your work right now with your skills in entrepreneurship, and how does that move this? How are you using that to move this movement forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's a common. Thanks for that question, Doc. I think it's a combination of both, right? I think with the work that we're doing in Haiti specifically, it's about entrepreneurship development skills, right? It's really creating strong, business acumen with the people that we work with. Locally, stateside, we have a couple different initiatives that helps to fund things that we are facilitating. So our coffee business, so we have an online coffee business where we import coffee directly from Haiti. Proceeds from our sales from our coffee goes back to supporting the work we do in Port-au-Prince. We just opened up a cafe in Seattle as well too, and that also helps to fund, our work as well too there in Port-au-Prince. Entrepreneurship is at the core. Being economically sustainable is extremely important with the work that we're doing. So a lot of the people that we are always supporting in Port-au-Prince is like figuring out ways to make sure that they have access to the resources, but more like long-term resource, not just a short-term, here's $1 today, but really like, how do you become a customer? How do you support the work that we are facilitating through that avenue there?
Where is your cafe located in Seattle?
We're on the bottom of the KUOW building on the Ave in the U District.
Okay. Okay. And when are you coming to Evergreen, Tacoma?
I'm here right now.
Oh, great.
I came to see you.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm on leave. I just had to come on so I could see and hear your presentation, but I'm actually on vacation. So we are going to connect. We want you to address our students there.
I'll be back. You let me know.
Thank you for your good work.
No, thank you.
We face major setbacks. Entrepreneurship is full of them, and especially in work that's focused on community building and skill building and things like that. What do you hold on to when you face major setbacks? What keeps you going?
Why I started to begin with. So I think that helps me, right? And then just tapping into my network, my community. So I have, mentors that I rely on heavily. I understand that everything that we're doing, there's a big picture, right? And so like the short term setbacks are really just short-term setbacks, right? And so those opportunities might be an opportunity to pause, right? So for example, like I was supposed to be in Atlanta last week because we were presenting our building at the Living Future Institute conference. But the Friday before that, I hurt my back and I was out. And I really tried to, like, I was in my mind, I was like, I gotta be there, right? But the reality was I could not be there, right? So I had to listen to my body, pause, and figure out a different way to make sure that my message came across the way it needed to. And so I think, setbacks breeds innovation, it breeds creativity, it breeds opportunity for us to partner with people. There's a lot that's happened. So even I remember back in 2016, I was supposed to move full-time to Port-au-Prince, and I realized like at that moment that I could not move. And so Pierre and we met in Chicago, and I was like, Pierre, and by that time, I think I probably only knew Pierre like maybe like less than a year. I was like, Pierre, you're in charge. Whatever decisions you got to make, just make it. You don't have to check in, just make it, right? And so I had to trust my partner on the ground, right? And then that relieved the stress on my end of thinking that I needed to be in multiple places at the same time. And then we moved in sync. And then that was just been a very beautiful dance over the past, rough, but beautiful, but, and we're still learning and we're still growing. But I think even like watching the documentary today was just like a reminder, like we set all these great grandiose ambitions in 2015, 2016, not knowing how we're going to get there. And we're still moving in that direction, right? And I think that's what's important, right? I think I'm also reminded sometime like what happened in 1804 didn't just happen in 1804. You know what I'm saying? It took years and years to get to that point of actually revolting. There was many revolutions that failed until the one in 1804 actually like succeeded. So like this setback right now in Port-au-Prince is one that would like can crush dreams, like, and it really tests you like, okay, well, what are you really about? Are you really about this? And the reality is like, we don't have to do it all now. There's ways that we can approach. So even like us taking a step back and focusing on our mental health, focusing on those things, those are all still important to the big picture. Yeah, you're welcome.
So you had us crying.
I heard.
And for Haiti, but then I realized that it was impacting me too because Puerto Rico's hurricane, few years later, no response, not enough responses, not the same magnitude, but the same sentiment. And same sentiment, the same sense that we can't reach anybody, that sense that you have to look out for yourself, yourselves. And the way the artists ended up being the organizers, the artists, the drumming groups, the theater groups, they were the ones taking care of the people. And so we were trying to get them resources able for them to do what they're doing. But today I'm here in Evergreen, Tacoma, and this is where I work, and I'm doing early childhood here, but I'm really here with the Caribbean community. And there's some people on the call that couldn't make it in person. And we're really looking forward to you coming to Caribbean Sea Fest on August 11th. But I want to know what you would want to say to the local Caribbean community, those other islands, about collaboration and about support and about what would you like to say to all of them? And we'll make sure it gets back to the larger group. What challenge, what invitation, what would you want to say to them?
I think I appreciate the invite, and I'll definitely will be there. I think what comes to mind really, it's we have to move as one. Like we have to, and I think we have to like really be very intentional about, what our vision is, right? So what's happened in Puerto Rico, what's happening in Haiti, like what's happening in Cuba, what's happening in Jamaica, all these solutions exist, but a lot of those resources are outside of the country. And it's in the diaspora. And I say that because like when I think about deforestation, I think about something I was reading about how like there's like this misguided reforestation, right, that's happening. And so like that misguided means like there's just, there really isn't, that you really don't know like the true essence of like how to like replant a tree that's gone, right? And so like that knowledge that exists for our community lives within the diaspora, right? And so if we're not part of the solution, if we're not really on the ground, then it's going to continue to happen over and over again. These natural disasters that are happening, these things that are happening in our community, those are calls, signals for us to come home, right? And I think that's what's happening. And it's going to continue to happen until we start to like really understand what that call actually means. But yeah, I want to be active with the Caribbean Association, whatever way possible. I think there's ways that Evergreen could be part of our sister connection in Haiti to help connect access to resources. Like most of our community just needs access. And if they get access and they're allowed to be in a room, then they'll find the answers that they need, right?
Okay, did you ever have a moment when the severity of everything you did really hit you? And how did you process those feelings and thoughts?
Yeah, like a lot. And I think I'm still developing. I think I'm still trying to figure out what I need to process a lot of things I'm going through. I think being able to slow down has been helping. But I'm still looking for the right type of outlets to help me process some of the things that I'm experiencing. Like there's sometimes sometimes I've been used to kind of like pushing aside my own emotions because there's just so much work to do, right? But I think last year I was driving and I was talking to Pierre on the phone and he was telling me about what was going on, and I realized that I was holding, and I just started crying, right? And I was holding all the emotions for my community because they can't express it themselves, right? Because they're in a space where being vulnerable is not common, right? So talking about it with friends, creating space to really be honest and vulnerable as often as possible, starting to be something that I'm learning to be comfortable with. Just being more open to sharing my story more, right? And creating more community. I think like, even though this documentary was finished, a few years ago, it's still still relevant, and it feels good to kind of like continue to like share it with people and build with people as well. Yeah.
Did you ever experience feelings of helplessness if and when there were difficulties that came to light in your plans, and then how did you push forward?
I think that the helplessness, it always comes up, but that's only when I'm trying to do it by myself, right? And I think the more I get comfortable with being vulnerable, the more I'm able to express, what I'm feeling to others, and then what I need to kind of navigate that journey, and ends up illuminating itself, right? So that's been very beneficial for me. So yeah, the helplessness is always there. We all know it, right? It's like, no matter what it is that we're going through, we always feel like, oh, I can't do this, or I don't have the resources, I don't have the capacity. But it's not about it's about us and we. So figuring out ways, for me, it's been really about figuring out ways to just be vulnerable and saying, if I can't do it, then I can't, and I express that. And so starting to do that with my team has been really helpful, and being honest, because I think there's sometimes we have this desire to like not let other people down, right? And we might be thinking it inside our heads, but we're like, and so when you hear it, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I was thinking the same thing too. I'm glad you said something, so just being able to have those safe spaces to kind of like continue to build and share together.
I wanted to ask what factors come into play when deciding what resources to supply.
I think when with regards to what we're doing in Haiti, like the people is first, right? So we make sure that our team members are taken care of first and foremost. And then, you know, just the basics that we need for the organization to sustain itself, you know, like we try to do our best to make sure that we have running electricity, running water, internet access, things of that nature. Like those are like the core that we definitely make sure is important. And I think like for us, obviously there's a lot of problems in our community, but I think having safe spaces is extremely important. And Impact Hub has served as that for our community, right? It's like there's one of those things like there's some people like that. This is where I need to be at right now. This feels safe, right? And so that environment for me is crucial, right? Because so much comes out of these out of these spaces, and so that for me is like why, if I could do anything as a contribution to Haiti and to the in the future of Haiti, building the physical building Kay Tita is extremely important because I'm thinking about generations and generations to come and them having access to a space to build from.
And kind of just answered my question a little bit. I was wondering, you kind of said what your top priority is. Just now, I think. What's your top need then to be effective?
Our goal is to break ground in January as far as the building goes. So raising capital is where we're at right now. So there's capital funding. So in addition to like really just crafting our story the right way and having support there, but then fundraising and raising money. The building is this first phase, you know, we need almost $150,000 just to be able to finish the final design of the project. And then the actual building itself is almost close to about $3 million to build. So that's our focus over the next few months, really. I would like to be able to also just try to find the right partnerships too, right? Because I don't think it's funding what we have is not about the little people, the small individual donations, they matter, but really, I believe there's large corporations, large entities out there that exist that can support something like this. So I think getting the introduction to the right people will be very important too.
Safe space, like cultivating safe space, what does that mean to you?
In every facet, I mean, our physical building, I mean, impact of the physical building has played a role in our community, right? Whereas like from a safe space, I can come here and I can be myself. I can let all the weight of like, you know, what I'm dealing with in my community go, and I could be, and I'm in an environment that, you know, basically honors and hears me in its totality, right? And so like what we've seen over the past, I would say past few years has been like the vulnerability of the people in our community. And I'd probably say more like the vulnerability of the men, the young men in our community has been like just amazing to witness because we're not used to being vulnerable with each other. It's not an environment that fosters that, right? You gotta like be tough all the time and it's just a whole different environment. But to see men shed tears, to see these young men shed tears and be themselves has been amazing to witness. But also like the physical space itself, with regards to what's happening and the violence around us, plays a role in keeping them also safe too. So they know that this space is where I feel like I belong, right? When all is going on around me, I'm in this physical environment that holds me and consoles me, and community matters.
You had said before that that the city just wasn't able to take all the population. Have you figured out, and have you worked with urban planning to figure out how to be more greener to be able to support the massive people yet?
No, we just have to, I mean, a lot of the projects are very independently driven, right? To be honest. And I think for us, it's really like, for us, like in our neighborhood specifically, our plan is like, let's build this one building. And then we have plans on the building that we're at right now to buy that land and build that one up into like affordable housing and start thinking about it from that perspective as well. I think that's kind of like how we're approaching this, but I mean, especially with what's happening right now, it's kind of really hard to like navigate the government really having a top-down approach. So it really has to be more bottom-up approach, whereas like collectives in the community coming together, how do we want to rebuild this neighborhood smarter together what kind of resources do we need to make that happen? It's on for the most part, what we're hoping is that our building is going to affect policy change when it comes down to how buildings are structured moving forward. And so that's kind of like some of the things that we're hoping to approach as we move forward as well too. If things pan itself out, maybe end of the summer, we wanted to hold a sustainable development conference in Port-au-Prince just to talk about our vision and what we think we need for our community, but it all depends on how things are progressing.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here and show us your work and talk a little bit about all of this. So thank you.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, it's been a real honor, and I really appreciate everybody making the time today to be here, to be part of the presentation, to be just to hold space for us. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to building with you all. Please join our email list. I think it's important. Accountability is important for us, and so hold us accountable to the things that we say we're going to do, and hold yourself accountable too. I know your feelings. I know you have feelings. We all have feelings right now. So honor them and create space to like share and connect and email us. Let's build this talk. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you.